Okay. The next thing I want to tell you is about direct input and indirect input. Means there are two ways. For example, my widget will change regarding an input. One way is that the player controller is an instigator, which means when, for example, I press the sprint key and let my character run, I tell from out of the player controller that my widget shall display my decreasing stamina bar. But the second way is when inside the world there's something happening to my character. In the last tutorial, in part 2, I showed you some damage taking when the character receives damage from somewhere. This is what I mean with indirect input. So in order to get your reference working well, you need to check when we are the instigator for some changes with values within the character or in the widgets, we can directly go from top to the bottom. So when I press the input action do damage, I tell my character, because I have a reference to my character already set up, that he should take some damage. And when I do this, I want to update the health widgets. This event is called over an event dispatcher. Why is it? I could have said something like that, because I know I was the one who do the damage. I tell the character to take the damage, and I can tell the widget right after to be updated. That's no problem. I only set up this one here because it do not make any sense to me that I, as a player controller, will inflict some damage to my character. This take damage will be called from somewhere else. This was just for experimental or testing purposes. Okay, so there will be a time when from the outside my character takes damage. And the character when he takes damage, he sends out a message. So, and my player controller receives this message, but he only accepts the message if the sender of the message is my current character, so my current possessed character. If it is another character, so it doesn't matter to him. So he won't update any of its widgets. So only the current character can send the message to my player character. But the character do not know that he is possessed. So everything I put inside my character should be able to work with any objects of this character class. So if I were to replace the name my character with the name a NPC inside my world, every NPC could do the same stuff here. Every NPC would have a health and a current health, maybe some stamina, maybe some skills, maybe an inventory. For example, think of one of my favorite games, Gothic or Gothic 2, where you can possess by cheating every possible character in the world, and they all have the same behavior. So setting my character like that, as I just said, means a player controller can possess it, and an AI controller can possess it as well. The character will behave regarding its controller. This is also the reason why it wouldn't put any input handling inside the character class. And considering this, what happens if I put up the input handling for this character in here, and as I said, I would replace the name my character with NPC? Wouldn't that mean that every NPC is affected by an input? Yeah, when I told you about indirect and direct input, the same goes for sub-widgets. Maybe I have an inventory widget and I want to have a menu which is switchable via widget switcher. And inside, in order to switch the widget, I want to add some buttons. And each button represents a specific window of my widget switcher. That would mean I would need to add a new button, and inside the buttons logic I need to set the widget index for my parent widget. And the same goes here. It's like the player controller to the character is the parent widget to the sub widget. So when the child or sub widget want to do some changes in its parent, he needs to do that with an event dispatcher. And inside the parent, the event dispatcher will be assigned to an event, and the event is only called when the referenced child is hit. I think it's best if I would do this in my next video, where I will continue the actual tutorial. I just want to have said that for now. I think that was it for my little excursion. I hope you got a better understanding of why I am doing this stuff. And one last thing I want to tell you is I don't want to say that you have to follow my structure. I don't want to say you need to do this like my way. So there are more and other possible ways you could do that kind of stuff, but I want to give you some efforts to think about your project before you add any code. Okay, so let's see us again in the next part of my tutorial, and I hope it was enjoying. So bye bye.